Bonjour, Stephen. So this is for a French and African TV channel. I don't know if you have a few French words that you brought back from Paris or no?
Nui, nui.
That's a good start.
I got.
Well, my question is going to be in English. Actually, it's about another Bay Area personality that you support. You endorsed Kamala Harris at the DNC end of August. What is your thought on the campaign? How do you feel 1 month ahead of the election? And what do you expect of tomorrow's vice presidential debate? Everything's political for French people.
No,
you know?
it's all good. Obviously, supporting her is an honor. A sophisticated leader that I, expect and have confidence she can, lead our country and provide obviously hope, inspiration, unity. Obviously, there's a lot of tough conversations that need to be addressed in our country, and a lot of progress that needs to be made. But a level of decency and humanity at the top from our leadership is a must, and I think she checks that box. I know she has a great opportunity with the rest of the campaign leading up until the actual election to dig into her, politics and the way that she wants to impact our country, in the most powerful office in the world. And I know she'll be able to kind of do that in a meaningful way that provides confidence that she has a great plan. But first and foremost, is she going to run the entire country and be a leader for everybody? I feel like, she checks that box, and you got to start there, and that's why I have confidence in her.
Steph, hi. I know how important your foundation is, which is based in Oakland. Can you talk about what it means, unfortunately, for the Oakland A's? They just, had their last game, and they're the last professional major team to leave the city, and what that means going forward for the city.
I think overall it's a sad situation because sports franchises in any city are to borrow a line from a good friend of mine. It's a sense of hope and inspiration for a community. Whenever you start a year, it's like a way to galvanize again, that hope and that unity and that togetherness and having something to look forward to, and not just what it does for the economics of that city and what Oakland has meant to me is to say the least. It's been huge, just in the way that I came up in this league and being able to play in front of that fan base for those 10 years, and knowing the history of the A's, the Raiders, and the Warriors there. It sucks, but to your point, around what me and Aisha are trying to do within Oakland, it's a matter of supporting the community that supported us when we were coming up, and making sure that we still plant our flag there and have a significant presence there. But it is unfortunate that there aren't any more professional teams that are representing Oakland. Specifically just because of how much history there is around sports and that fandom and that sense of pride of being from Oakland. So I don't know how you kind of work around how tough it is, but for me and Aisha, obviously we want to make sure we continue our work there, especially through the school district, and creating opportunities for the next generation to achieve their full potential. But other than that, you have to admit how sad it is for everybody.
Stephen over here. How you doing, man?
Doing great.
Good. This is for you like the longest off season you've had in a long time since your very early career. What are the physical, mental, emotional, benefits to having such a long stretch, and how eager are you to get back on the court to play a basketball game in the NBA?
It's weird because the timing of it, knowing I had the Olympics this summer, it didn't feel like it. It felt like, you're trying to put the pieces together why, you're done playing in April. Physically, you get a break. Mentally, you're watching playoff basketball, still kind of in that grind of assessing where you are, where you need to be to, be one of those teams that are playing into June. And then I took 2 weeks off, started working out, getting ready for the Olympics. I had a 6-week run playing in the Olympics, and these last 4 weeks trying to balance rest and still staying sharp physically and mentally to get ready for a season. So it tested me in a different way. Thankfully, I had the Olympics to look forward to, so I didn't have just 5 months of sitting at home. And I think that'll hopefully allow me to get off to a good start individually. But to your question, I'm super excited to be back and to figure out what this team, needs to do to win, and just the challenge of putting all the pieces together. We got a lot of new faces and a lot of guys trying to take next steps in their careers, and it's gonna be fun from day one tomorrow when we when we hit the court and start getting our reps in. Because every day, we say it all the time in training camp, it is a way of thinking if you want to be great in this league, but it is true for us more than ever. Every day does matter for us to be able to figure this thing out.
When Draymond was in here earlier, he said that in some ways the new additions, the new vets coming in, is somewhat reminiscent of 3 years ago when Otto and Gary and Nemanja came in. Do you see similarities there, and what do you think of the roster as it is right now?
Yeah, it's very similar for sure. That's a good comparison. Guys that have been around the league in different situations and I think fit the style that we try to play, even though we do need to evolve and have a different look on offense and defense. We've had 2 years of kind of some stagnant ball at times, but still enough that we're convinced that we can be a good team. Obviously, injuries aside, you want to have everybody available, but I think pieces fit, and to your point, a good balance of youth and veteran presence that can hopefully get us off to a good start. And the good news is like I'm coming into this training camp with an open mind of how we're supposed to play. I know there's a warrior mentality and culture of how we do things. There's a system that we ran for a decade plus that has worked. Doesn't necessarily mean that's how this team needs to play. We have to have kind of antennas up on and an openness to accept what this team's strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and kind of lean into those. And that's including our youth, because we need them to play at an extremely high level for us to be the team we want to be.
Hi,
What's up, Steph? You were part of the conversation this summer trying to get kind of a bigger name in here. Paul George, obviously one of those. It didn't happen. How comfortable are you where this franchise is at, where this team is at in the bigger picture with championship in mind, pretty urgently?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not the team that's holding the title at the end of the year, and even I'm sure they were thinking about it, Boston was like, you always are trying to get better. And you've been around this league long enough, from day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season, what that actually means for your team can change pretty quickly. So, you go into free agency, PG's deciding whether he wants to opt in or not. Okay, we definitely should take that meeting. And I was a part of that process. The Laurie stuff, like, the whole league's wondering what's going to happen there, and how real trade talks are, and I don't ever get caught up in that and the noise around it. When something's material, usually I know about it and we have conversations. I'm not the ultimate decision maker, but you give your input. That's how the whole process goes. And even our free agent signings this year, all 3 guys that we brought in, all our veterans, Buddy, Kyle and Melt, like, established veterans who know how to play the game and are good, pieces that you need to be a championship type team. Does that mean we're there? I don't know. You ask all 30 teams last season, do you have championship, aspirations? You probably take 8 of them serious, 12 of them, you're like, maybe, and only 1 gets to say, yeah, we had championship aspirations. So I think we're in that position where we can be a relevant team early and give ourselves a chance to compete, and then assess where we are, because that's what every team has to go through. We just have the shadow of, to your point, like the expectations that we're supposed to be in that conversation. I want to win, and I know everybody in the locker room wants to do their part to help make it happen. So that's how we're approaching the season.
Hi, Steph. What will it mean to honor Al Attles this season? And just, going back to your early days in Oakland, he was a face at most games. And just to give your heart and soul to an organization for more than 60 years, can you imagine that and just sort of his legacy now?
Yeah, it's special, to have the patch and, his name's on our court down in the facility. And to your point, he's such an ambassador for the entire Bay Area, the ultimate, Golden State Warrior. You see his face on the wall in our practice facility. You see his name on the court. You see his number and his name in the rafters. And, we know the story extremely well of what he meant on and off the court to the organization. So I don't know if any gesture will go, far enough to honor him and what he meant, to the entire Bay. But every conversation I had with him, he was, very appreciative of, his place within the organization and what he stood for, what he meant. And I hope to be in that, position where you're a part of a community like that for as long as he was, because it's special and it's very unique and it's legendary, the impact that he left. So this is a very simple but amazing gesture, and hopefully it goes, broader than that for sure all year long.
Stephen, good to see you. I guess following up on that, being in the same place for a long time, we haven't spoken to you since your contract extension. How important was that for you to get that done? And as you've talked so much about, it feels like over the past couple of months, just maintaining you staying here in San Francisco.
Yeah, no secret. That's always been it always has been and still is a goal of mine to be a Warrior for life, to stay competitive throughout that process. And I know it's kind of unheard of, the short list of guys that have been in that position. Honestly, the ability to kind of just let that be known with the decision to extend and not let that be a distraction or be a talking point all year long, no matter what really, happens throughout this season, throughout next season, the third year after that. All of my energy is spent on preparing myself to play at a very high level, to do my part as part of this team to win, and everything else will reveal itself as time goes on. That's kind of the way I want to approach it, and I'm very confident in the fact that being here and being a relevant winning team is possible. And until I'm proven otherwise, that's the way I'm moving forward.
And you mentioned being open to changes on style and things like that. And Draymond was in here talking about how for so many years it was always the same thing heading into the year. And this year it's not, and it can actually be a good thing. Is there something about heading into a new chapter of this organization, of this team, without Clay, but opening other possibilities and saying we actually do have to change something, and it almost feels like there's an obvious opportunity to do so?
Yeah, I think you get smacked in the face and you don't make the playoffs. That's all the real, message you need, a reminder you need that, again, we have a way of doing things in terms of how we approach, practices, games, the level of competition you need to have. But when it comes down to, your X's and O's and the style and all that type of stuff, being open to, evolving and pivoting and figuring out especially how the league continues to evolve as well. Like, we're the hunters amongst many other teams, and what can this team do to maximize every skill set that we have in that locker room? That's the challenge for us. Some new faces on the coaching staff. Like you said, first time me, Clay, and Draymond haven't been together as teammates. Whatever narrative you want to kind of key in on, it's, for us to win, you got to think things differently. Doesn't mean you're not going to see some consistencies with how we've played before, but featuring some of the young guys and sets that puts them in a position to be successful. The different rotations that'll get us in position to compete with the best teams in the league. Like, we have to be able to figure that out and got to do it quickly.
for your first quick one, Steph, over here. What'd you think of Kerr doing the night at the DNC?
I've seen it. I've seen it at the DNC. I've seen it at the President's Cup in golf. I've seen it all over. Messi did it. I think Steve takes the cake on knowing, and that was a good time to pull it at the end of a great speech, and getting some good energy in the building. Siwoo Kim, shout out to you. I appreciate him doing it, even though I told him he's got to remind himself about time and score. And knowing when you pull a night out, you got to win. But yeah, it's fun to know, like, especially like you said with Steve at the DNC, is representing America and coming off of the Olympics. It was and him being there, obviously, as our coach. He got free pass to do it for sure.
And I'll just say, Draymond mentioned that what struck him watching the Olympics, you at the Olympics, was how the other players on the team were reacting to it for the first time. I know it's you, so maybe you can't quite speak exactly about it, but what is it like when you have just that last shot against France? You have LeBron and KD over on the other side, and I think they're open, but you're taking that shot. You think
they were open.
Yeah.
They were 100% open.
What is going through your mind when you're taking that shot? You have Batum and the other guy all over you, and knowing that KD and LeBron are just fine with you taking that shot.
I wouldn't say that either, because I read body language pretty well. When I watched it back, I got trapped. I threw it to K. Braun was open on the wing, on the swing, but K threw it back to me. So when he did that, that's when your muscle memory takes over. I'm already in motion and do my move or whatever. I see the two guys, but I'm already in rhythm. As long as I get it off, I feel like when we make it. But I see both of them as soon as I'm shooting their hands up, and they both went like this. Like, they didn't expect me to shoot it. I'm sure they were ready for a pass back to the weak side, but as soon as it went in, seeing Bron do the gesture, seeing the guys on the bench, K threw his head back, and it was kind of an amazement. Like, that was the beauty of that team too, because the energy that we showed and the emotion that we showed in the Serbia game on the comeback and down the stretch in the Olympics, like, it mattered to everybody to get that done, and everybody knew the sense of urgency of the moment, and it was a memory for a lifetime for sure. So it's nice the way it finished for me personally, but we don't get there without all 12 guys on that team, and it was definitely something I remember for forever.
Stephen, obviously Buddy and Clay, as offensive players, kind of have similar profiles, shoot threes, move around a lot, but obviously you don't have the history you had with Clay. What's it going to take, do you think, to get you and Buddy in sync, whether he's coming off the bench or whatever, because obviously they want to be able to play both you guys at the same time. So,
I mean, we'll figure that out. It's on the list of many things to kind of work through when it comes to, again, the openness of how we're going to play, what's being asked of everybody individually, with their role. The different rotations that we'll experiment in training camp, preseason games, and maybe early into the year. But for Buddy, he shoots the ball. Like, you shoot open shots, you play within the system, be a threat to score. Whenever he's out there, and that'll solve itself. Obviously we need a defensive mindset as well when it comes to all five guys, no matter who you're out there with. But play with a couple pickup sessions with him. Dude's a shooter. He's confident in his game, and we need that because that's such a valued commodity in the league. Having a knockdown shooter that can space the floor and somebody that you always got to know where he is. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's on the list of all the things we have to figure out as a team to put it all together.